Y'all come on in. Yeah. What's going on, folks? I'm over here making some adjustments. It's gonna be a little bit of free flowing conversation. Things that we don't get a chance to cover over on Elevated Dialogue for whatever reason. Uh if you guys are interested in coming on, I'm dropping links. Check the chat and come join the conversation. Let's see here. What we got going on here? So let's get it, man. We're gonna talk about, like fatherhood, child support, and things that we discussed over on Elevated Dialogue on the Uncle Junior Network. Hosted by Garfield Martin, and the Wolf Pack does an exceptional job with bringing us to the conversation and trying to make it make sense. So I appreciate everything he does, because I know the grind that it takes to put together people in the same room on the same sheet of music, and and put egos to the side to create a good conversation, and can't give him his flowers enough. So I appreciate him. Everybody else, like, what's going on? I see we got some people filing into the chat. Let's see what we got going on here. I'm gonna hang out for a second and let y'all show up. And a lot of things that we talk about on this platform are rooted mostly in objectivity, meaning like you have to be open and receptive to correction, and every day we encounter people that make us rant, people that make us, reevaluate where we see ourselves in other people's eyes. You know what I'm saying? Because they see one thing, you hoping for another, and sometimes we meet in the middle, and sometimes we don't. And when we don't meet in the middle, how we respond to that conflict is more so indicative to our character, our stoicism, all of the things that go into the accountable masculinity profile. Like, we got to learn how to be cool again, and part of being cool requires somebody to listen. A lot of us don't like to listen. A lot of us don't like correction. I don't know anybody that likes correction until they find out they're being corrected in love. And I don't think we talk about that part a lot, because we come off as authoritarian, controlling, things of that nature. So we all are that to somebody else, and I think that we have to be more accepting of that. That it's an easier life to live when you are open to people helping you. Most people that correct you, they trying to help you in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? And I look at it like, you don't get many times where somebody shows up on your behalf to help you before you hurt yourself. And that's really what it has to boil down to. We have to have, better problem solving skills, better interactions with each other, and have more vulnerable settings, so we can take the unnecessary anxiety off of what it takes to be a better human being, to those that we say we care about, and those that wait on us to make decisions on behalf of the team. We are always going to end up being in situations where we have to have the thicker skin, so it doesn't make sense for us to get short-sighted on that. We just have to find a better way to engage each other, to have a conversation that makes sense to the other person. And unfortunately, sometimes we can get so caught into our own versions of what we think should be right that we forget that we are not in charge of other people's responses, good, bad, and indifferent. Like, you soon realize that after you reach a certain level of maturity, your your ability to access the world is based on the level of respect that you command, or that you the level of self-dignity that other people can see on you. Like, if you respect yourself, it's highly possible that you're going to respect others in a healthy way, not in a manipulative manner where you're just being cordial just to get what you want. And that usually results in a transactional outcome, and it's a matter of it being healthy or unhealthy. So a lot of times that conversation that usually goes down the unhealthy rabbit hole is usually based on someone's need to be right, and it's dangerous. So a lot of that ties into the perception of how child support is supposed to work, what our obligations are to um, our families, um, and when it comes down into just reality of it having to be about somebody greater than yourself, you know, eventually it has some impacts, to how we see relationships, how we see our parental obligations, and how we see what our overall intent is based on our actions. Because if actions speak louder than words, what do your actions say? Um, and we use a lot of words in place of actions sometimes. I think sometimes we should have more action than words. Sometimes I think we should have less action than words. And I think we have less action, you should have more ears. So this is a topic that's always touchy, and I try to have the conversation as much as I can from the aspect of taking the romance out of it, taking out the um, all of the things that make a touchy subject even harder to touch. Um, you have to be able to control something in the conversation, and really, the only thing that you can control is your own personal experience, or the way you articulate it, rather. And I think we all struggle with that because there's nobody out there that can tell you how you need, how comfortable you need to make them to accept your perspective. They either just have to accept it or they don't. And these are just coming from my own personal journeys, of course, you know what I'm saying? And I'm forming my overall opinion, because it's not about just how I interact with people, but it's about how people interact with you. And eventually you got to start looking at what type of behavior, what's the pattern, and then you have to recognize that you're getting back what you're putting out. So either you got healthy interaction or you don't. You got sporadic interaction that's usually subjective in response, that usually creates a lot of conversations where somebody makes it more about them than the general opinion, and resistant to new information. And I think that communication gap, or that the need to be right versus the unwillingness to accept, is extremely powerful. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's a combination of both that produces, toxic co-parenting situations, uh, unhealthy relationships, and it's an indicator to a larger situation. Although indicators are not absolute, they are absolutely indicators. So how can we have a more objective conversation about the responsibilities that child support and co-parenting comes with? And we're not just talking about the legal obligation, we're talking about the conversation that makes a healthier co-parenting experience where the child benefits the most from the objective views of both parents. Because if it's not about the union that created the child anymore, from a romantic sense, there's still an obligation that goes with it. Hey, shout out to Didi Red. Hey, I appreciate you showing up. Hey, feel free to, chime in. Hey, this panel is open for whatever your thoughts may be on the topic. I'm gonna go ahead and uh, bring the topic up on a banner too, and we can go from there. How was you guys' day? Somebody tell me about their day, man. See what you got going on. Let's see here. Boom, 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 boom. So, okay, we're gonna talk about the. Let's see. I'm gonna come up with something else. Hang on, I'm gonna do something else real quick. How can how can the custodial parent okay, I don't do well at talking and typing anymore. You know what I'm saying? I used to. So I was trying to type up a question really quick, and I'm just gonna throw this up here, and we're gonna go from there. So, how can the custodial parent make a better co-parenting experience based on their agreed access to the child? Let me edit this real quick. I mess up real time. Or I leave something out. Child and the non. All right, let's try this again. Boom. So this is what I got. How can the custodial parent make a better co-parenting experience for the child and the non-custodial parent based on their agreed access to the child? Like, you realize, man, hey, appreciate that, Diesel. So based on the agreed terms that the children are governed by for both the parents, what can the custodial parent do to ensure parental integrity for the non-custodial parent? Like, we're not talking about incentivizing or nothing like that, but just we talking about creating a space where both parents can do what they're supposed to do on behalf of the child. Because that's who wins in these, loses in these situations, obviously. And I'm gonna throw up a couple of videos in the meantime, because I want to show y'all what I saw today. Hold up. Now I'm going to caveat this video, because we got like 30 or 40 years now of you are not the father. and in this situation, I want to talk about those that have been subject to the child support system for something, for a child that they not even a parent of. So I posted this on my TikTok. Hey, y'all go follow me on TikTok. You see it right there. And I'm gonna drop this video real quick. It's fair use. It came off of a open source. I guess that's what we should say. I'm gonna type fair use, so I don't get in trouble. I'm gonna play this video so you guys can check it out, and it's just a clip. Let's go for it.
This man has not tampered with anything. There's no one in this family that's tampered with anything. We get these results. We send them out.
Tell him
this
you wanted
is
to
not
meet me in person. That's
That had
it.
nothing to do
You want
with
a hug? I
it.
give you a
Hell
hug.
to the no. I
give you
wouldn't
a hug.
touch
We
you,
can take
bro.
a picture.
I wouldn't even touch you. No, thank you.
So why is it that you're unable to accept these results?
No,
outside of. So you're telling me that after this, you're still going to be contacting me?
I'm still going to reach out for another one, most definitely. And
She's
this time,
basically telling you she's not going to leave me alone.
I'm not, because I know for a fact you my son's daddy, so I'm not going for that. This right here is not the father. No, I know for a fact he is.
But he's not.
Because that's the only one that
But he's not.
But that's okay. That's all
But
right.
he's not.
All right.
That's the thing I need you to hear. He's not.
Okay.
I understand that you've been telling yourself this narrative and you were hoping this is the truth, but this is not. He's not your child's father.
I almost feel like I need to play it again just so you can watch and like see how dangerous it is when somebody needs to be right. You know what I'm saying? Like in whatever situation, and a lot of times this is what we run into. Like, hang on a second, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen for a second. I'm gonna come back to it because I want to watch it again. Because I wanted to show you what I saw first. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like this woman was ready to fight the DNA test. I really need y'all to look at the behavior, the mannerisms, and what it looks like. It's far different than what people, really want to acknowledge it for. Like that is a state of delusion that cannot benefit anybody that thinks with a healthy, objective mindset. Because this is about the need to be right and how dangerous it is. I'm gonna play this again so you can run it back and just just absorb how she's thinking. Because most people don't think like this. Most people that are in a healthy mindset do not try to use their feelings to extort people, and that's what this is. And but I'm gonna play it again.
This man has not tampered with anything. There's no one in his family that's tampered with anything. We get these results. We send them out.
Tell him
this
you wanted
is
to meet me in person. That's
that had
it.
nothing to do
You want
with
a hug? I
it.
give you a
Hell
hug.
to the no. I wouldn't touch you, bro. I wouldn't even touch you. No, thank you.
So why is it that you're unable to accept these results?
No,
outside of. So you're telling me that after this, you're still going to be contacting me?
I'm still going to reach out for another one, most definitely. And this
She's
time,
basically telling you she's not going to leave me alone.
I'm not, because I know for a fact you my son's daddy, so I'm not going for that. This right here is not the father. No, I know for a fact he is.
But he's not.
Because that's the only one that
But he's not.
But that's okay. That's all
But
right.
he's not.
All right.
That's the thing I need you to hear. He's not.
Okay.
I understand that you've been telling yourself this narrative and you were hoping this is the truth, but this is not. He's not your child's father.
All right. So I had a situation that fit that whole screen right there. Like from the aspect of what child support is. Like on the previous podcast over on Elevated Dialogue, I didn't really get a chance to elaborate on it because I wanted to have a more personalized conversation amongst people that are trying to set their sons and daughters up for the most healthiest opportunities that might come up. And I have a unique experience that I think all of us, benefit more from by having the conversation, because you can't even have a certain type of conversation until you had a certain type of experience. And this is one of those ones where it's very touchy, because we all feel like that our individual experience makes us have a need to be right. And sometimes that need to be right clouds, the way that we see each other to the point where we are less receptive, less coachable. But when we have men's firsthand experience with this particular situation, we kind of shy away from making it, the conversation that needs to have. Because if we want to have a solutions-based problem-solving situation, we have to defeat debates before they begin. And we got to think objectively. We have to think about someone we know that we love. That what if they were in that situation, and even if they aren't the father, like how their life has been uprooted with some level of deception, a significant level of deception. So, you know, we just have to be more cognizant of, like men and women face different obstacles when it comes down to, how child support works, how we see each other, how we, you know, consider the other person's opinion and experience and think if they're here to help, hurt, or, not add any value. And the more conversations we have about what we can and can't control and can't control, we eventually have to have a conversation that says, okay, who's not helping? Who is sowing the chaos that we have to overcome? Who wants to see us win, but their actions are counter to us winning? And what does winning look like? You got to define it, because if the goal is to take care of, is to provide the maximum amount of access for success to the child, what do the action, what do the behaviors say of the custodial versus non-custodial parent relationship? And for those of you that have the experience and would like to share something that can add value to the conversation, feel free. I dropped the show links in there. Matter of fact, I'll drop it again because I know I got a lot of stuff coming in and out of there. And also too, that this could be easily one of those topics where, you know, you could just take a back seat. And for the women that are watching this show that want a say in it, we can definitely have a conversation about it too, because we have to know what's the thought process when it comes down and you know what I'm saying, you trying to establish a level of objectivity and removing the defensive behavior that doesn't allow you to see the child's father as anything more than a resource, a legally bound obligation, or an income, an additional income at that. Like, we don't know a whole lot about that. I know what we think we know. I know that there's plenty of conversations out there from people who have an affinity for arguing in circles from hurt places. But like, I want to talk to people that know where they were like if they had some true emotional integrity and know how it could have gone. You know what I'm saying? And they did something right by it, or they failed and they wish they could have handled it better. Because I think the stories of overcoming, certain situations and getting a newfound understanding are more important than saying, that's how he handled it, or, feeling he or she, how they handled it and balance their emotions to avoid being vindictive, because there's a lot of obstacles in this. And on both sides, but like, the side that matters is the one that makes sense for the child. That's what I would think. So then I run across certain things. I put this up here. Hang on a second. Let's see here. This lady, who we have up here? So I learn as I go too, when I find new information, because things change all the time. So I'm gonna check this video out. I saw this lady. I follow her sometimes. I see her. Her information or content get reposted a lot. So I'm gonna play this right here.
Don't want you to know. Child support is based on guidelines, not laws. They are the outlaws, not you. Asking for a copy of said guidelines may cause your case to suddenly close. Bet. Here's a secret child support agents don't want you to know. Child support is based on guidelines, not laws. They are the outlaws, not you. Asking for a copy of said guidelines may cause your case to suddenly close. Bet.
Okay. Let's see here. What we got? Okay. So from Leandra Green. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate your support, and I appreciate your engagement too. So Leandra says, I'm watching with my cousin. His opinion is that there's nothing you can do to make a non-custodial parent. I'm assuming just like can't make the non-custodial parent comfortable unless they choose to be. I ask him to elaborate. Okay. I get everybody has choices and acceptance of reality, and you go through the denial phase. But like, if those of you that have had the experience that overcame it and got better, how did you do it, and what did it look like? Because somebody's done it. Somebody's done it. You can't stay in a level of turmoil and inconsistency on behalf of the children for the wrong reasons for too long before it still becomes your problem. Because those of you in your 40s, somebody or you experiencing this as a parent where your children in their 20s now or late teens, and they're able to make decisions without approval, and you're still providing them, resources to live, covering, and taking care of their existence, basically funding their existence because they're yours. So when you get ready to transition into becoming from a parent to a mentor, those of you that are able to do that, and that co-parenting relationship produce maybe some additional obstacles, then how are you overcoming that objectivity or that subconscious desire to be combative and create discord, you know what I'm saying, and foment distrust with each other? Because how does the child benefit from your behavior? And I think when you start asking that question, I think you start putting child support in the right box, or at least one of the boxes that it needs to be discussed in, because there's no one particular box. Okay, so I like that. All you can do is focus on the things you can control, and focus on yourself and give people time. I think a lot of times we want people to heal on our time, and I think we lose the healthy objectivity that's necessary for other people to feel comfortable and take a little bit of a chance and being more assertive. And I think sometimes we shoot each other down before we get a chance to get better, because I think most people are like healing in front of each other. I think that we kind of like working on ourselves out loud. And so a lot of times we get caught up with distractions, opinions, and I see. Hey, everybody's got to learn on their own. Everyone has to be able to adapt. And if you're not coachable or receptive, open to correction, you're gonna have a tough time adapting. And then sometimes when you can't adapt, you get tunnel vision about how to deal with the problem, and that's when you start living in the echo chamber of your own delusions, because you have an unhealthy need to be right. When you got an unhealthy need to be right, you put a lot of people in disadvantaged positions. Like, I hit on these points because we need to have a quick ability to recognize when our opportunity to like communicate in an assertive way it presents itself. You got to look for the right trigger, and then sometimes I think that we try looking for that and it doesn't come out that way. And I think we understand each other, but we don't interpret each other or translate very well. Like, I think we understand each other simply because we speak the same language. But I think where our communication gets off is principles, an alignment of principles. And that alignment of principles is relative to whatever we got experience with. And that's why, like, we can understand each other, but it takes a level of interpretation to be able to read the room, and then translation. So, like, when we say lost in translation, we literally lose the opportunity for understanding in translation. And it's not just a phrase that we can glance over lightly when other people are dependent on our decision making and discernment. So we're not afforded the opportunity to act on emotions irresponsibly. We have to find a way to let new information turn our feelings into instincts, into a thermostat, to be able to change the temperature in the room and not be manipulated by others. Okay. So we got to think about people other than ourselves. Life is about other people. I think you have a better experience in life if you working on behalf of other people. And when most of your moves in life that are supposed to be about being responsible and accountable, they get lost in translation with other people, you got to figure out how to capture your narrative and what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that if you can't reach the other parent, on the same frequency, you definitely got to make sure your kids understand what your role and obligation is in the process. Hey, for everybody that's watching, I appreciate you tuning in. Do me a favor, if you not already, come on over to the YouTube channel and click like and subscribe, and stay tuned for future podcasts, because it's about to go up. We got the merch store up, and want to throw this up here, and I want you guys to go cop the book. We'll run a little small promotion at some point. But yeah, this is the Valor and Victory store. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of the content that the merch that's going to go along with the discussion. And this is my first book, and I'm gonna let this sit up here for a second here. Like, I'm trying to do my part to put out here what it takes for us to have the right objective conversation. You see what I'm saying? Like, we got to do something to route ourselves, to a better outcome, because ain't nobody coming to save us. Never has, never will. So, this is my intent with my product, because either part of the conversation, part of the problem, or part of the solution. And y'all can see the stuff that I got over here, some of the things that I speak about. Let me go ahead and open up the whole catalog. Y'all gonna miss some dope stuff, man, because the price gonna go up. You know what I'm saying? I feel very confident in what I got going on. And for those of you that run into situations where somebody cannot just be respectful enough of who you are. You know what I'm saying? This is what this t-shirt is for. And it stands for everything that you think it sounds. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go cop that, man. The shirt cheap. You know what I'm saying? Support the platform. I gotta give y'all some. I don't just want to ask for no money, man. You know what I'm saying? All I want you to do is like, subscribe, go shop. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot more content coming up. Okay, here we go. And man, look, go get the polo. Go get all of that. Man, you see this right here? Come on. That's a pretty fly fella too, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the logo. You know, this suit right here is made for the weather, you know, and it's classic. It's got good material. If you're gonna go give Nike their money, you know, give Nike your money. You know what I'm saying? Think about me first. That's all I'm asking. Think about me. Let me drop the link in there too. You go get this. This new drop. I've been waiting to get on the pod so I can show y'all what I got going on. But you really need to go get the book. You really need to go get the book. The book is going to change, you know what I'm saying, the way that we have a conversation, because if you want people to have your understanding, you have to give them something to understand you with. And you also have to be deliberate about protecting your boundaries. You have to be deliberate about, you know, being assertive on what you're willing to compromise with and what you're not. And if you find yourself in situations where you're the one that's constantly in conflict, it's probably you, because you only get out of people what you put out. A lot of times, you know, we like to say, you know, like the other person reflects how you feel about yourself, and then that's the cold hard facts about the type of interaction you're having. So if you're having a negative experience with anybody, I don't care if it's your kids, your co-workers, you're always in some sort of heated misunderstanding, it ain't the other person, it's you. And that's a very important lesson to learn when you start talking about how do we package up our emotions and use them to make the informed decision that benefits the child's experience. You don't want them to have to recover from their childhood. Like, that's something to think about. You do not want your kids to have to recover from their childhood with you. And I know it's only so much you can protect them from, because if you're still learning just like everybody else, you know, you're not better than them. But being able to show that you can be corrected is so important. And it's also important for the children to see responsible adults put that, you know, that the personally motivated biases to the side for a second and say, we got to make sure that we give an example that he can learn from too, because the same energy that goes into building a solid business relationship goes into building a solid relationship in non-romantic relationships. There's an exchange. There's an exchange of energy. There's an exchange of respect. There's an exchange of understanding. And in an exchange, you have to be vulnerable enough to do it, because there has to be a level of trust. We're teaching how not to trust each other to those that we claim to love and also have responsibility for. And when you think about the trickle down effect of a misunderstanding and a skewed perspective from a place without a lot of tangible experience, we are setting up the most vulnerable versions of ourselves to go out and repeat our own cycles. And that's kind of like a hard pill to swallow, because what's the most you can, you know, get out of telling someone to do something the exact way you did it, or where you doubted yourself and then you made a different decision? You still sowing the seed of doubt. And what's the true benefit of the doubt? Like, we got to be able to sit down and have a conversation that eliminates doubt, that the other person's going to be supported at some levels. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if you get on a plane, you assume and don't ask that the pilot has, you know what I'm saying, attended the necessary training to qualify them to operate the plane. And then when you experience turbulence or some level of unpredictable things outside of your control while in flight, you hope the pilot has the confidence, the competence, and the confidence to do what it takes to get that plane on the ground safely. And despite the turbulence, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, in that situation, it's beneficial, because if we got safety and things of that nature on the I guess the consequence list, because there's got to be some consequences, right? You realize soon that we work better when we understand what the other person is responsible for, or when we don't know it, we don't realize how much of it we take for granted, because a lot of times we afford somebody the opportunity to negatively criticize us. Let's see what we got right here. So Eddie Johnson, honestly, sometimes I get a little pissed off when I talk to people who don't give for child support, because it is such an inconvenience. Here, as the parent that has had that child fail to realize that they are inconvenience everyone else who is raising and help that child, I'm trying to follow. Because one parent is not doing anything. The very least they can do is pay a few dollars for child support. So Eddie is shout out to Eddie Johnson. I appreciate the engagement, sir. Thanks for showing up. Welcome to Code Talk, the Accountable Masculinity platform. And of course, for those of you that's catching up, we're talking about the question that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and the other implied conversations that go along with it that come through the feedback and engagement of the chat. So shout out to the chat. And we're talking about Eddie Johnson's opinion of, like, he gets a little pissed off who don't give anything for child support. And I'm assuming he's talking about those that consider it an inconvenience. And it's about somebody having an equally responsible load on the situation. Well, I think that speaks to a larger point of what people think their role is in the child. And I think in a lot of these situations, there are women who have kids that should not be mothers, and there are men that are fit the male perspective of that too. There's some men should not be fathers, just like I wrote today, all fathers aren't leaders, and all men aren't teachers, all women aren't feminine, and all women aren't mothers. All things are true, because you can have two bad people at the same time, and in an unpredictable level of chaos. That's what drives our art and entertainment industry. You know what I'm saying? I believe that these topics exist because we participate in the structures that exploit us. And I think that when you just look at the overall conversation itself, every time that we enter a level of institutional mediation, we do it uneducated. We do it with a high, I would say, wouldn't say a high, but it's almost a default. It's done in such a way like it's almost like unemployment. I think access to child support for some people who had kids with the wrong person, procreated with the wrong person, male or female, I think in that short-sighted decision, they don't realize that at some degree, you are treated like, I want this to hit the right way. The government will treat you like a contracted sex worker, because it almost like penalizes you for making a kid with the wrong person. A contracted sex worker, because let's just assume, let's just create the scenario in which where you have a kid with the wrong person, and now you trapped in the legal mediation of the government fixing who provides subsistence for the kid and how much in the form of child support. And they basically took an emotionally vulnerable moment and gave it to somebody else to solve. Now you put somebody else in your business. And what comes with that is a lot of additional stress that's already present, because if it's a marriage that produced a child or not a marriage, it's still an insecure space to be in for both people, and three, and to include kid, just the space in general is insecure. So when you operate from an insecure space, and the probability of going into it, you're going to function on a lot of fear. And I think I can say this: I think a lot of men that stop paying child support usually doubt paternity. And if they can't get a DNA test, in place of that paternity question, then they resort to a lot of other manipulative things, and as a overall lack of accountability, that takes place. So I think that when you look at the way people spend money, or what they feel like they're responsible for, whatever they're responsible for, the finances will be behind that. And if they don't feel like they're responsible for it, and their finances aren't with it, then that goes back to how we got to the original conversation. How do you manage that? You know what I'm saying? Yep. For clarity, there's so many females that don't go for child support because they don't want to seem like the bad person. Meanwhile, the parent that has child depends on the family friends. You make me think. It made me want to look up something. I want to see, who's on child support. That's what I want to find out. Let's see here. Percentage of men that are on child support. So I just found a site called Divorce Wizards. I saw it earlier today. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this link up here. Let's see what we can find here together. We learning stuff at the same time. Hang on. We can go ahead and share this screen. I was looking at this earlier today, and I wanted to see how it would match up with, whatever questions they got to ask, because we want to find solutions. We don't just want to talk about it. So check this out. 84% of child support providers are men. 60% of child supporters provide for one child. 30% provide two, 10% provide, and 10% support three or more children. Almost 50% of the men who make child support payments are younger than 40. Dang. There's some different information to consider. I'm still forming an opinion based on the information that got provided, right? The median income of a provider of child support is $42,000. Okay, that number is important because that's the median income of men in America. And that matches up with the 84% of child support providers being men. So it's still proportionate in terms of just the facts. 76% of the child support payments are due to court order or the child support. Okay, so that's kind of what I was looking for. To go with Eddie Johnson's question or statement rather. And this is where we got to provide new information. So like I'm gonna type this in here and put this up. So Eddie's statement: there are so many females that don't go because of it. Now, I don't know how that matches up with if it's many that don't do it. That's one thing, but what about the many that do? That also say that they don't mean any ill will, because the ones that don't, they're helping. They're part of the solution. And how do we get this message digested by men about the risk that they can end up being part of the 76% based on their choices, you know? Because like we've already had we've already had a ton of the discussions that we need to have to say, hey, look, what creates the most healthiest, you know what I'm saying, point of view, you know what I'm saying, that leads to us having a better understanding of what the other person goes through. Because all of these conflicts come from the dangers need to be right, a sense of rejection, and a reduction in access and entitlement. I'll check that out, Ed. I'm going to take that into consideration for sure. I wonder if there's even a database for that. Single parents not receiving child support. Okay, let me check that out. Yeah, let's look that up. What you got over here, Leandra? I don't think it could be measured if there was women who didn't go to court. Bingo. That's ultimately what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if you can't measure something that hasn't been logged in. That was my initial thought, but I'm gonna look it up anyway because I don't want to just assume that it doesn't exist. But we want to find single parents not receiving child support nationwide. Let's see what it says. I don't know if there's a database for that, and I don't think so. Okay, I'm gonna go to the census data. Let me show you what I got over here. I want to start with the census because we need to have just a reference point. It may not answer every single question, but we gotta know how to do a little bit of research. Now, this is current as of 28. Well, this is as of 2018. So I'm gonna find something more recent too. But starting with the data that we got from 5 years ago is gonna give us a better conversation. You know, again, this is a start point. Okay, so in 2018, let's see here. Approximately 2/3, 69.3% of custodial parents who were due child support received some payments from non-custodial parents, while only 43% reported receiving the full amount of child support due. This latest information comes from the U.S. Census Bureau Custodial Mothers and Fathers in the Child Support 2015 report. Okay. Highlights from the report. Okay, so about half of all of the 13.6 million custodial parents had either legal or informal child support agreements. Custodial mothers were more likely to have agreements, 52%, than custodial fathers, 39.6%. The aggregate amount of child support due in 2015 was $33.7 billion, a decrease of $14 billion from 2003. Wait a minute. So from 2003 to 2015, they went from a $14 billion child support aggregate to a $33.7 billion. I'm really interested in what it looks like for 2022 now. Let me continue. About 60% of the child support due in 2015 was reported as received, averaging $3,447 a year per custodial parent who was due support. The data comes from the Child Support Supplement to the April 2016 Current Population Survey. The CPS provides demographic information about custodial parents, as well as child support and other income data for the 2015 calendar year. Okay, we're going to put a pin in that because I got to go find the updated version of this, but I'm going to put that to the side for now. And that, that's a very important, nugget, because appreciate the question, Eddie. Appreciate that. I'm going to see what we got for 2022. Let's see if it even exists. I know it's 2023, but as of 2022 is what I'm looking for. We got to have a broader understanding, of things that impact our conversations, and understanding, like, it's not a default to accept or move to a lower frequency of misunderstanding and judgment. We have to understand what the other person is up against. Okay, let me go back to the Census Bureau. Here we go. I think I found something that's updated. Hey man, you guys that are over here in the chat, I'm gonna drop the link to the YouTube channel. Do me a favor, y'all go like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and bookmark for notifications in the future. We'll start doing this on Wednesday nights, and share a conversation that makes more sense than it does make debates over sense. No, we don't live like that over here. We have a conversation that leads to dialogue, because we got to have a better understanding of how we should protect each other, and you got to make people qualify for your protection and understanding too. We make people really comfortable with being disrespectful first, violating boundaries and things of that nature. I'm trying to see what I got over here on this page now. When I start running into situations where you don't get a lot of active data or new data, then you can kind of tell where the care and concern for maintenance and the tracking of this data. Yeah, like I'm finding like I just found a document that was published in 2022. I'm just looking at it right now to see what makes sense on it. Okay. Oh, this is real good. Hang on a second. Okay. This is kind of the answer I was looking for right here. So Eddie, if you're still with me, here we go. We're gonna come to this question right here. I'm gonna put your other question back up, Eddie, because I think I got an answer. All right, so your previous question was look up how many single parents, I guess you were saying, are not receiving child support. whether it is a male or female. Okay. So that other number was in 2018. And in a 15-year gap, it went from 14 billion to 14 billion in 2003 to 33.7 billion. The child support went 2.5 times. Looks like 2.5 times double. That's a huge jump in 15 years. Now, I'm going to come over here. We're going to go back to this. So, about 30% of parents who are owed child support payments get nothing. And that data is from the Census Bureau. 1 in 5 children in the U.S. live in households that receive child support. 1 in 5 is 20%. In 2017, the 5.4 million parents who were owed child support payments received 62% of the amount they were supposed to get. So if 5.4 million people were owed $100 in child support, they received 62%. So they got $62 of the 100 that they were owed. I'm just using round numbers. The median amount received was $1,800, though 1.6 million or 30% received no child support at all. About 46% of parents with child support agreements get all that is owed to them. Okay, so that number kind of goes with the 76% that we talked about, right? And that is 46 right there. They, so they get the entire amount of child support. And that's 30% receive no support at all. And what do we have? And we got, and those two numbers, for the sake of conversation, ironically match up with the 76% that we're talking about. So what does that mean? That means that we have to focus the conversation on those that are doing the right thing, because the issue is not getting support. And by not highlighting the things that are getting done the right way, we are really exacerbating an argument that's just not a healthy one, because there's some people doing the right thing, but we talk more about it not working. Okay, now we got this other nugget. Black children live with one biological parent at a disproportionate rate compared with other ethnic and racial groups, but those families are also less likely to receive child support payments. What does that mean? You got the child, the custodial parent got the child. They got awarded the child. And they have court-ordered child support. And they're still less likely to receive child support payments. So you got the baby and no money. So that means that the people that fit this description and these statistics are choosing the wrong people to have kids with. And it's a mutual agreement. This group of people is functioning at a frequency that is not conducive to producing resource kids that become adults, functioning adults. Let's see. It's just a lot of general information out there. I think you just got to compare the data. And I think geography plays a role too. There's some places where families aren't being made at the same rate as it used to be. Yeah, less and less people are having kids. There's less people still fulfilling their child support obligations. So people are doing their own thing. Women specifically taking advantage of being able to participate in the free market and work. But at the same time, somebody has to have enough financial education to realize what they might be up against when it comes down to actually financially being able to provide for a stable environment for a child to flourish in. Shout out to Ike Scareless. Hey man, appreciate you coming over. Y'all starting to come on in and everything, man. Make sure you like and subscribe, and come fellowship with us over here on Code Talk. Every Wednesday. Same back time, same back channel. Subscribe for the updates and get the notifications so you can stay in the conversation too. And if it's something else that you'd like to see discussed, what I'm saying, just most of you guys that follow me look for accountable masculinity. Hey, you see the V's, you see it. I ain't running for that. Let me show y'all like my little cover art. I've been working, man. I've been doing some stuff, trying to maximize the brand, and show that I'm really committed to making this thing work. And I want to be able to, show my work as well. Because a lot of y'all got the same talents, you got different perspectives. You got something that everybody can learn from. And if you don't set the table, a lot of people don't want to share. So another thing I wanted to bring up too, get over here and get myself out the way. Boom. What is the racial breakdown of child support recipients? In 2017, Black children were more than twice as likely as white children to live in a home with one custodial parent, while the other parent lives outside of the home. 49% of Black children and about 23% of white children lived in such a household. I don't know, man. Like, it says, while Black children are more likely to be living with one custodial parent than white, non-Hispanic children, they are less likely to have a child support agreement. Let me say that again. While Black children are more likely to be living with one custodial parent than white non-Hispanic children, they are less likely to have a child support agreement. 40% of Black custodial parents had child support orders, compared with 50% of non-Hispanic white custodial parents. One possible reason for lower numbers of child support orders is the disproportionately higher rate of Black men in prisons. Over half of all incarcerated people are parents, and about 33% of parents in prison were Black as of 2016. In many states, it is logistically infeasible to locate and establish the paternity of an incarcerated parent through the state child support system, and it also can be challenging to start a child support order when the non-custodial parent has no ability to earn income. However, for the many parents who enter the criminal justice system with existing child support orders, their child support accrues in the form of debt. Incarcerated parents exit prison with an average of over $20,000 in child support debt. I'm telling you, man, like, the lack of, sexual discipline between specific demographics of people, socioeconomic demographics. You choose what you can relate to. You can't have anything above that, because you can only have the relationships you can afford. You can only have the the networks and the relationships that your accountability can afford. It's not about the money. I say that a lot because it's about the understanding, and the understanding is that choosing the wrong partner can shut off access, for a child's experience in the world, where they may just be missing one key experience with the other parent. They may end up taking on a certain level of a level of emotional maturity that is not conducive to creating healthy relationships with people, because it's not about setting our kids up to go be good at romantic relationships. We're talking about just people skills, because the same skills that you would take into business for discernment, transparency, and really, really being honest about the outcome that you'd like to create involves us understanding everything that we think we know and balancing that off of what we think we can accomplish, and creating solid expectation management conversations that keep us away from the negative. I think this information is designed for you to work a little bit harder at being selective about where you spend your time, your energy, and your resources. You know what I'm saying? And I think that lesson is harder to get when you don't have people around that can share the story. People around that don't have the will to prepare you. When you got people in your network that actually care about you, they look to arm you with information that gives you the cheat code. I think people that love you put you in accelerated positions, because the best ability is availability. And when you take your resources away, or when you compromise your resources, you also compromise your availability. So I think that, for the sake of this discussion, as I get ready to wrap this up with my final thoughts, is that when it comes down to how to make a better co-parenting experience for the child and a non-custodial parent, I think that we all have to weigh the cost of what image are you preparing for the other parent? Because the image that you're preparing about the other parent is going to say more about you. They're going to find out. They're going to know. They're going to know. They're going to find out who the problem was. And when you look at what's an obstacle in your life, and somebody has to take an objective view of your behavior and balance that off of the outcome, they're going to be able to tell who had their best interest. And I think that once you take that level of thought and detail into the consideration of what I'm talking about, we can avoid this conversation altogether, because we'll do the implied thing, is keep the government out of your business, solve your problems, and get better conflict resolution skills. Because the greater good is that we can solve all of our own problems. We don't need somebody to come in and regulate things. And in order for us to improve as a community, we're going to have to get comfortable with getting our hands dirty, and, to mitigate our misunderstandings. And I think when you take that objective view and you really get to the honest part of what you really would like to see, I think you just have a different type of discernment that affords you the opportunity to make an informed decision about how is this going to look for the kid, and be honest about it, just instead of just saying it because you're worried about how they're going to react to you. How are they going to, respond to your response? So I think this is one of those opportunities where it's an exercise in objectivity again, and find the rhythm of your stoicism. That's what you got to find, man, because a lot of the data about child support stuff and what it costs to be a non-custodial parent or custodial parent, I think it's coming from so many different angles, because it's not a system that's designed to be an efficient model of accounting for the money that's spent, because that's even based on the questions. There's always been a topic about how do we regulate access to the funds, and I think when you look at something that's unprepared, such as that, you wouldn't shop with it. If you went on Amazon and it wasn't organized the right way, you got it 1 or 2 times before you like, hey, I can't spend any money with this. But take that same analogy and flip it and realize that it's an unorganized system that extorts the relationships of families, that have children, and everybody loses. So ultimately, we got to figure out how to have better conflict resolution skills for the betterment of our community. If we can't do that at the level of responsibility that resources our children better, we're going to have a much tougher time creating better communities. And that's what it's about, man. So I'm glad for everyone that tuned in, that stayed on the cast, and this will be re-aired. Hey, welcome to the Uncle Junior Network. It's been Code Talk, and hey, I'm out. See you next Wednesday. Oh, by the way, go buy the book, man. Go buy the book. Hold up. Let me drop that back in there in the chat. You got to go get the book. We're going to have a way different conversation after you guys buy the book. And I promise you, it won't let you down. It's just my attempt to not complain and add something to the solution pool. But again, it's been Code Talk, and I'm out. Hey, watch the comments for the link, and I'll holler at you.